2 months from now, I will be 5 years clean off of perks. No perks. 5 years. November 17th of 2020 is when I quit. And I would like to talk about it because, this is a self-improvement channel. And I'm not sure, I have about 1,300 subscribers right now. And I'm not sure, how many of you guys like to indulge in, the pills and stuff. But I'm sure there's a few of you pill poppers out there. And, so I feel like this is something that I need to talk about because at the end of the day, the whole perk thing popping and all that, it's a terrible path to go down, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. For those of you who are on it, and for those of you who have people around you who try to influence you to take it, for those of you who have never done it, stay on that path, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Because I remember the first time I popped a perk, okay? Because when I was like 16, 17, I grew up in a household that was Christian. And, my dad was very strict on what we could and could not do. And, growing up as a child, you have to listen to your parents. But, you enter that certain age to where, right now I'm 25, but you enter that certain age where you kind of want to experiment for yourself. And so around 16, 17, when I was in high school, I entered that age where, I wanted to do what I wanted to do, Like, there has to be a certain point in your life, and I'm not saying that you should go out and start doing drugs and doing all this stuff, because at the end of the day, your parents are there to influence you in the right way. But I think many of you can relate to the fact that at a certain point, you have to become your own man. And I wanted to try these things. Right? The first thing I ever did was smoke weed. I remember I was with, my friends at the time. I believe I was probably a sophomore or something, and we were going to a football game, right? And I would hang out with these guys all the time. I don't even think I knew that they smoked weed. And so when they got together, they pulled out this contraption out of their backpack, and it was like a water bottle. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, we're about to smoke some weed. And I was like, oh shit. And I was asking all these questions, right? I was asking question after question. And I was like, how does it feel? Am I gonna be high? What is this? What is that, right? I'm sure anyone who's ever tried it, right? You ask all those questions. You ask, what is it gonna be like? What am I gonna feel? Am I gonna feel paranoid? How long does it last? All this other shit, right? And they were basically just like, bro, chill. Like, it's gonna make you feel good or whatever, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to. And I was like, nah, I want to try it, right? That had piqued my curiosity. I was asking too many questions, and I was like, nah, I want to try it. I want to see what this is like. And so I remember we ended up smoking out of that water bottle. I think they call it a gravity bong or whatever. That contraption that you fucking make when you're in high school and you can't buy a bong. And so I remember we smoked. And when we smoked, that very first time, you don't feel nothing, right? You don't feel nothing. I don't know. Some people have different experiences. For me, I didn't feel nothing, but I wanted to feel something. I remember that, 2 chicks came and picked us up, and we went to this football game at the high school. And I remember I was trying to convince myself that I was feeling something. I was like, yeah, I think I'm high, right? But in reality, I wasn't feeling shit. But then the second time around came, and I wanted to try it again. And when I tried it this time, I was fried. Like, I was blowed. I was out of my mind. We were in a parking lot at like 1 a.m, and we were literally spinning in circles. Thinking about that shit sounds fruity as fuck, but nah, it wasn't even like that. But we were spinning in circles because we were fucking fried, and we were like, oh shit, like this shit feels good, whatever the case may be. I was like, damn, I'm high for the first time, right? And people say that weed is the gateway drug, and to a certain extent I agree. It's not like you smoke weed and then all of a sudden you're like, I want to try heroin, I want to try this. No. It's just like, you smoke it, you see what it feels like, and then you wonder, well, I didn't know what this felt like, And now that I see what it feels like, I kind of like it, right? So I wonder what this feels like. And that's when I went, I tried Zans, and then I tried Molly. I tried, what else? I tried mushrooms. I tried ecstasy. I tried coke. And then eventually, at the time, a lot of rappers were rapping about perks and pills. And that's the thing about being, a teenager, is that you're influenced. And that's what you got to realize about a lot of these rappers and singers. They're paid. They are paid big money to rap about killing, to rap about drugs, to rap about being a hoe. Why? Because it influences the younger generation to follow in those footsteps, to do those things, so that the fathers end up in jail because they were influenced by someone to go out there and kill and be on drugs and rob and all this shit. And so they're left with single mothers who are, listening to Sexy Red, talking about being a hoe, going out there, taking dicks, my booty hole brown, all this other shit, right? And so it's all designed. It's all a big master plan. You might not see it because, a lot of you guys, you might not understand this, but this is all part of a grand scheme. And I'm not trying to ramble too much, but I'm trying to show you how this shit is a big plan, so that they can program the kids. Because when the father's not home, back in the day, the fathers would program the kids. And, he's the man of the house, he's the leader. Nowadays, they rap about, fuck man, no, I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man. And the men are listening to music about rapping and killing. And mind you, I listen to this shit too, but I'm not influenced, I'm a grown man. But they do this to influence the youth, right? Because they know that the youth is impressionable. So back to the point, at the time, I was listening to a bunch of rappers talk about perks and all this shit, and I was like, I wonder what a perk feels like, right? I've already tried all this other shit. What does a perk feel like? And so, boom, I ended up trying my first perk. First time, didn't really feel much, whatever the case may be. And so, that was like a little bit before COVID. I think it was like 2018, around there. 2018, I think I popped my first perk. It was like a 5 milligram, and I didn't really feel much. I was just like, it's cool, right? But then COVID came around, and that's when I was in my parents' house. I was 19 at the time. I was, playing Fortnite. That's when Fortnite was at its peak, and me and my boys were on Fortnite every fucking night. That was when like season 1 came out, and we were just playing every fucking night, every night. And that shit was just, there was nothing else to do. You're COVID, you're locked down, you're in the crib, you're not doing anything else. You're just in the house, right? It's lockdown. And so, we're just playing Fortnite and getting high, right? There's nothing else to do. So I ended up taking one pill one day, and then one pill one day turns into, instead of one pill and then 2 days no pills, another day a pill, no, then it turns to, let's take a pill today and a pill tomorrow. And then after it turns to, well, let me just take one more, right? This is how it happens. Well, let me just take one more. And then eventually you're popping them every day. And then what happens? What happens is, that dosage, that milligram, 5 milligrams, is not going to do it to you anymore. It's not going to get you as high as you felt the first time. Because when you do get high and you do see what it feels like, and it feels really good, when you do feel that, it's the best feeling you'll feel in your life. And I'm not saying this to fucking encourage you to take it. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just speaking from my experience. It is the best fucking feeling you have in your life. And this is why it's such a slippery slope, that if you haven't started, don't do it. And if you are on it, understand that you are heading down a dangerous path. If you take perks, understand that perks is the pill form of heroin, because at the end of the day, perks are an opioid. So opioids, they act on your pain, your opioid receptors, so you don't feel any pain. They give perks to people who have just been shot, to people who, just got in an accident, who have severe pain. So what it does is it basically, you don't feel any pain, you just feel bliss. You feel like it's damn near better than sex, okay? I'm gonna say it's damn near better than sex. Like, if I could pop a perk right now, I probably would. But I already know, I can't do it. And it's not that I can't, but I just know. I just know if I take another one, it's gonna be a downhill spiral. So what happens is you take a perk, you feel great, you're nodding out. Like I said, you go from 1 day to 2 days, and then you're taking them every day, and then 5 milligrams doesn't do it to you anymore. So then you pop a 10, and then, you keep popping a 10 consistently. It feels good. And then eventually, a 10 doesn't really hit anymore. You just take it, and you just feel normal, Like a certain dosage just makes you feel normal. And so then you gotta up it, right? You gotta up it because you want to feel high. That's the thing about an addiction to a drug, is that you want to feel that high again. So you take more, and then you pop a 20, and then you pop a 30, right? Eventually, I was taking 30s like every day, like 2 of them. Eventually, I got to the point where I was taking 2 30s a day, and I was fucking, just playing video games, getting high, going to work. I was a functional addict, so I wasn't like a fucking addict that was just, sitting there strung out, couldn't do anything. No, I was going to work. I was popping them in the bathroom. I would show my coworkers. I had a little pill container that I would take to work, and I'd keep them in my back pocket. I had like 6 20s in that motherfucker, the oxys, and I would be popping them at work, and just getting high, because you always want to get high, right? Like, it would get to the point where I was lying to my girlfriend at the time. I would tell her, because the thing is, when you start getting high like that, when you start getting high to the point where all you want to do is get high, you want to get high all the time, and it gets to a point where your dose is very high, it kind of becomes a thing where you don't really want to tell people that you're taking that much, because then they're gonna be like, damn, this motherfucker's a junkie, right? And so it got to a point where, anytime I would see someone on Snapchat, because that's the thing, I had my Snapchat, and I would see people all the time posting all these pills, selling all these pills, right? And so anytime I'd swipe up, it's like the urge would kick in. It's like, I need to go over there. So it doesn't matter if I'm hanging out with my girlfriend or not. Shit, I could have been at someone's funeral. I'd probably open up that shit, be like, actually, I'll be right back. I gotta go fucking, get something for the funeral. But anyways, I was, chilling with my girlfriend at the time, and boom, I'd get a message. Not a message. Yeah, actually, sometimes they would send me a message and be like, yo, I got 20s, 30s, whatever the case may be. And I'd be like, hey, babe, I'm gonna go to Walmart real quick. Or I'd make up some bullshit excuse, right? Just so I can get out of the house. And even though the fucking ride was like 30 minutes, sometimes it ended up being like 40 minutes or 50 minutes with traffic. So now I'm gone 50 minutes, and then when I get there, the fucking plug is taking forever. He's not there. And then I'm like, fuck, but you're already there, and you need the fucking pills. You don't care how long it fucking takes to wait. Even if the motherfucker makes you wait 10, 20 minutes, like, you don't have self-respect, Because now if a motherfucker makes me wait 5 or 10 minutes, I'm gone. But when they got the perks and you're dry and you don't got no pills, you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna wait. And like, I'd fucking pop the pill, go back and make up some excuse, probably get something on the way to make it seem believable, like I fucking, actually went somewhere and bought some shit. And then, I'd be high, and you feel good. You're like, okay, now I'm chilling. Now that I'm high, I'm chilling. But it got to a point where that shit was fucking draining my finances, because I'm spending $60 a day. And, I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, I would get in the car. I remember I'd hop in the car. I felt like I was in the passenger seat of my own life, because I'd get in the car and I'd tell myself, don't do it, bro. Just quit. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it. And then a motherfucker would message me, and I'd be like, oh, fuck, don't do it. And I'd be like, literally getting in the car as I'm telling myself, don't do it. No control over my mind. And I'm like, well, I do have control over my mind. That's what I've realized now. But at the time, it felt like I had no control over my mind. And I'd be like, okay, fuck it. I'm going. And as I'm driving like this, and I'm telling myself, nah, just turn around. And I would just continue on with the drive to go buy some pills and get high, right? And it reached a point where, You know, I went through a breakup. I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? You know, you're out of shape. You're living at your parents' house. You just went through a breakup. You're addicted to pills. Like, what are you doing with your life? You know, it got to that point. And at a certain point, I had met up with one of the plugs, right? And this motherfucker had went to jail, and he came back, and now he was on fentanyl. He was on the fentanyl pills. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this motherfucker looked perfectly fine before. I mean, he was a little dusty before, but now he looked like extra dusty, like super dusty. And he was fat, and bro grew some tits, like some double D's. Motherfucker came out shirtless, looking disheveled. And I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, yo, I got them fentanyl pills. I got them fentanyl pills. You want some of them fentanyl pills? And I was like, huh? Motherfuckers are really taking this shit? And that just made me realize, you know, I just took a look at the path that I was heading down. And I'm like, okay, so I started off at 5. I told myself I wouldn't take more than that. Then I went to a 10. Then I went to a 20. Then I went to a 30. Then I went, you know, to 60. And it's like, the path is just going to continue. If you go down this downward spiral, it's just going to continue. So what's next? Once the fucking perks don't hit anymore, once the oxys don't hit anymore, what's next? Fentanyl. And that's why motherfuckers start taking it, because it's stronger. It gives you that high. You're chasing that high. And what happens when fentanyl doesn't hit anymore? Now you're shooting up heroin up the arm. Okay? So this is what you need to understand. If you're on those pills, stop as soon as you can. The best thing that helped me, the moment that I decided to quit, November 17th of 2020, was I admitted it to my parents, right? At the time, my mom had found out that I smoked weed one time because she smelled it. I would sneak out the window and smoke some weed, and she smelled it, and she was like, she knocked on my door. I remember she was like, and I opened the door, and she's like, Abdiel, what's that smell? And I was like, go to sleep, Mom. And I just closed the door, and you know, she kind of found out about that, but they never knew about all the other shit, right? And so this day I tell them, I'm like, listen, you know, I've been taking these pills. I'm really addicted, and I really want to stop. And they prayed for me. You know, they prayed for me that day. And the next day, I just quit. I quit. I never did them again. And I remember, you know, I went through the withdrawals. That's the thing about the perks, is you get really bad withdrawals. You can't sleep at all because you've been, you know, providing your body with this drug. And so that's the reason why most people don't want to quit, is because of the withdrawals. You can't sleep, your body hurts, you feel depressed, all this other shit, because it's like you've been giving your body this thing to function every single day, and now you take it away, something that's been a part of your daily life. And so now you got to go through this fucking hell period to where you feel like shit all the time, but it's necessary if you want to quit. So my best advice for anyone who hasn't started is don't start. And for anyone who is on it, tell someone close to you so that you have some accountability, so that you feel embarrassed if you do it again, so that you feel like a fuck up if you do it again, right? And then also delete everyone, remove everyone from your life who is influencing you in that way. It doesn't matter. You might say, I have control over my mind, I can't, you know, it's okay, I'll still hang around those motherfuckers. I said that shit too. And you continue popping them, you continue taking them. Why? Because you see someone post it, and now you take it. Now I can see someone post it, I don't care. But it's like when you fucking go through a breakup, right? If you go through a breakup and it's your first breakup, and you're constantly looking at her photos, constantly looking at her Instagram, constantly searching her up, wondering what she's doing, no matter how strong you think you are, you're gonna fucking text her ass back. Why? Because you're constantly looking through that shit. I mean, I'm at a point now where, you know, I can see perks, I can see a picture of somebody, and, you know, I have enough self-control over my mind. But when you're weak at that point where you don't have that self-control, you have to remove everything. You go through a breakup, delete all the pictures, fucking unfollow on Instagram, whatever the case may be. You know, if you have people posting drugs and shit or in your life that are inviting you to go out, stop hanging around those motherfuckers. That's not a good path to head down. And I'm telling you that sincerely, as someone who enjoys taking drugs. I enjoyed taking coke. I enjoyed taking Molly. I enjoyed taking perks. I enjoyed all that shit. but it's not a good path. I'm telling you. That's why I'm so passionate about the self-improvement messages, because, you know, I've seen what it's done for me. It really, really improved my life to quit those fucking pills, gain control over my mind, replace those bad habits with good habits such as working out, making YouTube videos to inspire others, and, you know, just constantly focusing on how you can improve yourself instead of how you can feel good in the moment and get high every single day. So that's what I did. I deleted everybody off my Snapchat. Motherfuckers would hit me up. Nope. Delete their number, delete their contact. Never hung out with those motherfuckers again. And, you know, the path has been great. If you see pictures of me when I was on perks and shit, I was looking chubby, and now I'm sexy as fuck. I can pull any girl I want. I can walk up to any chick and fucking have the confidence to go and approach her. Why? Because I've put in the work to improve myself. All right? So if you need help, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Optimal Man Coaching. I truly hope that this message reaches somebody and truly helps you. If you were thinking about popping perks, don't. If you're on that path, stop. I'm telling you. And if you need help, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I got you. I don't care if 5 people see this shit. I just hope that someone hears this message and it truly, you know, helps them out in some way. Because, like I said, November 17th, 2025 is going to be 5 years. And I don't count down the days or anything, but, you know, it's been a big part of my life to quit that shit and fucking, you know, improve myself. So drop a like, help me out with the fucking algorithm, because people will be watching the videos, they don't drop a like, and they don't understand that, you know, all you got to do is just click the like button and that shit will push it out to many people. So drop a like, leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.